Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about consultants and whether you should quit if you have a bad workflow. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, if you're dealing with a company where in-house staff has to maintain projects provided by consultants, would you consider quitting that job because it feels like it's a bad place and it feels like it's a bad place of work and a bad work flow? So this is a question in regards to another video I made, which was pretty much about this exact topic, where another person explained that in his company he's dealing with consultants who produce like new projects, and then the workflow is basically they build a thing in isolation and pass it over to the in-house staff that work within the company. And to in that specific video, it felt a little bit weird to this person why that workflow was the way it was. And I'm not going to go into what the answer was, but the basics is that that is a workflow that does actually exist. So if you ask me personally if I would enjoy working in such a work environment, I would say that it very much depends on the way that the work is structured and the ability to collaborate with the consultants. So the worst case scenario, which is a scenario that I have been part of, is if the consultants in question, because of company structure, it doesn't have to be company structure. Even I mean, I've really never met people in general terms, at the very least, who are like unfriendly or stuff like that. So if there is an opportunity to collaborate, people are very open usually to do this. I want to make this very, very clear, guys. It's there seems to be this stigma sometimes between in people working for product companies and people working for consultancy, and I don't really like that. I don't really like that you look at a consultant as like the bad guy in this equation, because I mean they're there to do a job, and if you're a true professional, I will argue that your focus is supposed, at the very least, to be on producing results, make this situation work. It's the same thing when you're super super talented and you're super super good at coding and you need to work with people that may not be as skilled as you are. Does it really matter? Like, you can throw a fit about it and really show how immature you are by behaving like an asshole to everybody, or you can understand that this is now an opportunity for you to actually take the next step in your personal development and try to figure out, how do we solve this situation? And I think that the same thing should happen here. I believe that if I were in a situation as I used to be, where basically there was no way for us to collaborate with the consultants, they literally just built the whole thing, shipped it, and threw it over to us, and then we needed to maintain it. There was no documentation, and in one very horrible scenario, we didn't even have the source code, which was fun, and there was no way for us to change that workflow, and it caused us a lot of pain and problems. Then yes, that would weigh mentally on me personally, and it did weigh mentally on quite a lot of people. We made it work, sort of. Luckily, we didn't have to work all that much with this code. It was kind of self reliant. Like, it didn't change that code all that much, so that made the thing a little easier on us. But if, on the other hand, we were in a situation, which I have been in as well, where the consultants on like they have a really good customer mindset and they really want to make this thing work. I mean, I these days I work a lot with integration work, where I integrate to different sorts of companies, and in some companies you're dealing with someone who is really cross that where we really don't have a good work relationship, because of priorities and so forth. Like people are not investing the same amount of energy into the success of the project, and that is very frustrating. It's really, really frustrating to feel like you're trying to push your best on your side, and then on the other side, they don't give a shit, or they care, but because of priorities, they don't actually get the time to invest into the success of this project. And I have a lot of coworkers who have lost many hairs and a few nights of sleep and vented frustrations many times when they feel like, oh, we're doing all this work and we're always on time, and they're never on time. They're never doing anything that they like we're telling them to. And I kind of go, well, if this is the scenario, and we've been over this 100 times before, we've talked to management, upper management, we've tried everything in terms of trying to resolve the situation, then at least I do this thing, and maybe the wrong thing to do, but it works very well for me. When I understand that a situation is hopeless, in the sense that nobody has an interest in resolving this, there's no like we've really tried to make this work, well, then I think that you should match the energy level of the people on the other side, which is what I do. In other words, if I have someone who's like really enthusiastic and really wants to help and like be part of the conversation and make things better, I get even more excited. I get like twice the energy just from feeding off of that other person's energy, and that makes me really happy and energetic. On the other hand, if I have someone who's very apathetic and doesn't really give a shit, then I just go down to that same level, because the pain, in my experience, the emotional pain from having this work situation, comes from when there's a mismatch. It's sort of like being in a really unhappy marriage, where if you really love your spouse but they don't really love your back, that's where the pain comes from usually. That there's not a It's not on a sort of equal level. So if you reduce it down in this scenario, even if the system suffers, well, does it really matter to you? Like if management doesn't care enough to make this work, and the other people are not making it work, why should you care? You're not paid to care. You're paid to produce results. And if you can't be in a, if nobody can help you create an environment where success is possible, then don't give a shit. You owe these people nothing. However, in the really nice scenario, you can actually create a workflow, because consultants, believe it or not, they usually do care about the work that they do. They are in quite a lot of people, regardless of where they work, enjoy their job in IT, at least. If you ask me, like I've never really met really unhappy programmers who really hate what they do, usually. And so talking to them and like creating a workflow where they understand that, well, this is roughly, you can do education pieces, you can teach them things about the system, you can even be involved and set specifications. I do this all the time, even with in this case it's with in-house staff and sometimes with consultants, where we just have an open dialogue about how the system needs to work. That's the key to success here. So what I want you to take away from this is that I have many a time dealt with situations where I'm forced to collaborate with an external party, like a consultancy or something like that. And that doesn't mean that you're dealing with a bad work environment. What the bad work environment comes from when there's no communication, and the results that are being produced on the other side is subpar, or that they're not very interested in producing good results or anything like that. And if you're in that situation, yeah, I would consider maybe moving if it's really causing you a lot of mental damage. But remember, you can always do as what I like to do first. You just match the energy level. If you're frustrated over the fact that they're not really putting in the work, then don't put in the work. Let the fucking thing collapse until management gets upset and they are open to actually doing something about it. Don't waste your energy trying to fix a situation nobody cares about. The other part is, if you're able to communicate, like if people are open to actually talking about a situation and try to figure out how we can work best together, then start there. It usually works out really, really well. Have a great day.